Nearly 6:30. I call this meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Select Board to order. Jeff,
Yeah.
Brian,
Here.
Kathy, here, and it's here, and John.
John is here.
Excellent. The first item, this meeting is being recorded. The first item is our public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here or on Zoom who would like to make a public comment on a non-agenda item?
In the hands.
Okay. The next is the chairman's report and action items, and I will combine part of that. At our next meeting, I would like to go through and make sure that we have liaisons to all of the important committees, particularly the quasi judiciary committees. In particular, the Concom is looking for somebody. And I would like people to think about, I know you've been very active with Pike and Ped and
Three, like,
yeah,
I got a
yeah,
lot.
you've got a lot, and I understand that there are people here who work and who don't have unlimited time, but I would like particularly to make sure that we have somebody who is willing to, and it may well be, take on the Concom.
I would also, along that same line, ask if someone else would be willing to take on the Board of Health. I have been able to go to very few meetings because they're usually Thursday mornings at 8:30.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I have been able to make very few. So I usually try and get in touch with Wendy afterwards, but if someone is able to actually attend some of the meetings, that might be more conducive. So
Thank
I
you.
thought,
How long have they known the last?
I don't think they're that long, and sometimes you can look at the agenda and just say that, that they're talking about, septic, specific property issues. But I just.
Yeah, 2 weeks to think
Think about it.
2 weeks to think about it, yeah,
That's a once a month.
it is.
Yeah. So it's Board of Health, Planning Board, the CBA, all of the CBA needs less attention than many of them. FinCom, I said Planning Board.
Concom, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
Concom. It's essentially, those are the ones that need to have the select board strongly behind them. And if we find them heading in a direction, it'd be nice to get an early, okay. The next is action items, aside from committee assignments. Does anybody have anything they want to add to the action items?
I have one item. I would like to add the Powder House parking project to that. I think that's been kind of, I barely call it moving along. It's been about 3 years, maybe more. And they're still moving through. I know they went through a discussion with the Concom. I think discussing with the DPW, I think there might be a review that Concom is going to do based upon the location, which changed in the last 6 months. It was going to be in one place and now it's in another place. But I think we need to push that along. It's just been too long. So if that could go on there and put it down for like, say a month from now. I say in July, and then maybe we'll put it on a bi-monthly basis or something.
I spoke with Sarah Creighton about the harbor management report. She says that they hadn't seen it. They were as surprised as we were at its breadth and lack of depth. And that they would like a chance to go over it. I will check with her and see when that can be put back on an action item. There's no point in spending any time worrying about it until they have had a chance to talk about it.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't think we have open-ended action items, but that's.
Just one other thing, I was gonna mention it when we talked about reorganization, but since we're gonna talk about liaisons in 2 weeks, I thought it might be helpful if the select board and the planning board and the downtown improvement committee kind of got together and just reviewed the charter for the downtown improvement project committee, because now that the planning board has launched their own project around, the downtown revitalization, we all have a role to play in that, and I think it's just good to get the roles and responsibilities clear, because downtown improvement is working a bunch of things that, I think we're aware of, but it's more around marketing, and we should just clarify roles and responsibilities. I think that would.
Okay, good. How, do you have a suggestion how to do that?
Yeah.
Do we ask the planning board and the downtown improvement to come to one of our meetings? Do we?
Probably the easiest way to do it. I would suggest that one person reach out to both committees and
Yeah.
talk a little bit about it. I mean, Kathy, you're probably.
I'd be happy
good
to do
girl
that, yeah.
I think it makes sense for the downtown improvement, think about pivoting more towards economic development and business retention, recruiting.
Which they have, and I think
Yes.
we just didn't formally, bless that as a select
Right.
board.
Right.
But I think we should just kind of
Yeah,
do
I
that.
think-
So I'll reach out to Sarah and to Steve Carhart, ask for their thoughts, and we could invite them to an upcoming select board.
I think that would make sense.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Because they're having a public hearing on the.
Yes.
Yeah.
A big forum.
That's a forum on
Not
the study, yeah,
Yes. On,
or whatever it is,
What-
survey.
On the
What-
downtown,
downtown
vision for the
vision.
downtown.
vision.
Yeah.
What. I believe that they think that the general district is broader than the business district and would like to see more business focus on the business area and not apply the same to the outer parts of the general district.
Mhm.
Okay. Our next item is board reorganization.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ann Harrison as the chair for the coming year.
Second.
Discussion? Ready to vote? Jeff,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes. Sean.
And yes.
And I would like to move that we appoint John Round as our vice chair.
Second.
Discussion? John,
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Kathy says yes.
One caveat, you get a sweater, yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
okay. Now, the bicycle and pedestrian committee has an award.
Yes, we do. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna pass these out for everyone. Okay. These up quickly for today.
Nicer letterhead than we do.
Yeah.
They have a a professional
There we go.
Yeah,
team.
you're looking at them right here.
More color printer, very.
Yeah. The color printer, that's, a rare find these days. So, really what you're looking at here is just more of an announcement that, Manchester by the Sea has been awarded, from the League of American Bicyclists, a bike, friendly community award. Manchester by the Sea is one of 13 communities, towns in Massachusetts that have received this award, and only one of 359 in the entire nation has received this, that has received this award. And really what this award really is understanding what bike-friendly community is, and that's providing safe accommodations for bicycling, encouraging people to choose bikes for both transportation and recreation. So that's really one of the big highlights of this program. This evaluation happened in 2024 across 5 categories and 40 subcategories, as you'll see. I didn't list out all the subcategories, but it's everything from like engineering of the town, education, encouragement, planning, accessibility, everything, kind of, many subcategories under those main categories. So we were judged amongst many. So again, we're 1 in 13 in the state, 1 in 450 or so in the country. And we rank actually in the scorecard, I just noticed today that in the actual scorecard that we ranked number 2 in the state for bike friendly. So that's pretty great. So as you could tell from the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, we're very excited, obviously, to share this news with you. It's been shared in the Cricket, the Tide. We're updating our website, some of the socials as well. And we're gonna update this information in the quarterly newsletter as well that goes out town. And we have other communications that we're thinking of establishing for local businesses, such as some of our real estate companies in the town. Having this bike friendly one pager kind of in the back of a real estate a house listing is gonna make the town obviously look really good and make
We have this nice fancy bronze badge
That's
that we
right.
can share.
That's right.
And print out, and so the town can use that.
That's
on
exactly
the
right.
Website.
We have lots of badges, we have we can order plaques, we can order stickers, there's lots of things we can order. But we do, like as Brian said, we have all this great material to share with local businesses. And while this award really is a great testament to all the collective work that the town has done over the years, it also provides us a kind of a scorecard. Here, would you mind just taking a quick look at passing that down? I don't have many copies of this because this is a lot of color and a lot of pages, but it's a report card and it basically gives us a roadmap of things that we can improve in the town over time. Everything ranging from infrastructure, safety education, promotion, engagement, planning, and accessibility as well. And I think one of the big opportunities here is not only having, some more kind of signage for, not only that's like bike friendly community, but where certain bike paths are, but continuing those efforts to, improve the infrastructure of the town and to educate kids, adults, et cetera, on bike and safety. Especially with the, with all of the electric bikes coming out. Brian has a great video on bike safety with electric bikes with Police Chief Fitzgerald. So to wrap this up, we're excited to extend our sincere thanks to Police Chief Fitzgerald, Director of Public Works Chuck Dam, and Town Administrator Greg Federspiel for their valuable contributions and support in endorsing this application. And their partnership was instrumental in helping Manchester by the Sea earn this recognition.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, the education, the videos that you guys do is really awesome, especially the ones directed at the young folks. If you want to engage with the businesses a little bit, I would encourage you to reach out through the Downtown Improvement Committee,
Oh, great idea.
right? Because the Chamber of Commerce attends those meetings, and Gordon attends, but they are very focused on communications with the businesses, and we have business leaders now attending those meetings. So that would be a good first step.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations.
No.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I can email anybody this information.
Would you do that just?
Yeah.
Because those
Sure.
numbers are interesting.
Yeah.
If you could send it to Debbie and Debbie, you could send it to the rest of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, we have lots of data. We have this report card and there's a lot of educational material and such as well. So we'll
Yeah.
not only do that, but we're gonna try to include a lot of this information on the town website for
Mhm,
Bike and Ped. So,
mhm.
yeah, I'll have links and stuff there as well.
We've been a tree city for a long time. It's nice to be a bike city.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's loved.
Well, I'm working on Raptor City.
There you
That's true. We are a boat city already.
Yep. Okay,
Dan, can I interrupt?
yes, of course.
Designate the cricket in the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
that was Cap.
Oh, right.
Okay. All right, so I move that the select board designate the cricket as the official
And the cluster.
and the Gloucester Daily Times as alternate newspapers for the town.
Second.
Discussion?
I have
John,
a question. What do they mean of alternate newspapers as opposed to what's the?
No, I
primary?
meant it's
it's the primary and.
oh, Murray, and then
One,
if we can't get it into the cricket, it goes into.
It's
Oh,
the
okay.
Times.
Right, it's mainly because the cricket only comes out
okay,
a
fine.
week
All right.
sometimes.
Yes,
Mhm.
Sometimes we do use the Times
Yeah.
because it's daily.
understood. Yes.
Anne says yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Um. Unless I've missed something else, thank you. I usually do. The denormity land. We voted for this. The town voted for this. Anybody see a reason not to sign this?
I just want to go on record saying I didn't vote for this.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
That, yes, we are taking potentially developable land and paying through.
And not to develop it while we're paying. We're housing trust, money back with $5.
Maybe we can take an action. I had asked this question before and there's more land coming under conservation. Maybe the numbers have changed, but we should understand what percentage of land in this town is under conservation restriction.
There was a
Okay.
number.
There, that number exists and it's in the mid to high thirties.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
It's 35 to 38.
And what is the desired end state? Because we have you should treat this like a portfolio. You know, you've got an investment portfolio, we have land investments. What percentage should be under conservation restriction? What percentage should be developable? You know, we gotta know when to stop, I guess, is the question,
Okay.
right? So we have limited amount of land and it's not clear to me when we should stop.
Yeah, you've reached a pretty high bar.
I think we're higher than most.
So should we
So
not
in
be,
the mid-30s is a typical goal
okay,
for a community.
so is it fair to say we should?
Actually, that was 30 by 30 was a campaign of the past administration.
Okay.
Oh, really?
30% by 2030.
30%.
We've overachieved.
Well, we blew over that.
Finally, we
Have we overachieved?
We're overachieving.
Bicycles, trees.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, you know, if something else comes to us requesting conservation, we're gonna talk about something else here,
But that's their land. They can do
Yeah,
it.
Right, and-
right.
That's
But
private
I'm just
property. They can do what
saying-
they want.
if we get a proposal, the answer should be, you know, a swap, because we've reached our limit, you know, our asset allocation. I think we should be more, I agree with Brian, we should be more aggressive about a land swap as opposed to just taking more of our portfolio and putting it where we can't get at it.
6 months ago, we did decline putting some land in conservation over, I'm trying to remember where.
It was
Oh,
just,
wow.
in the words of, it was a open suspenders kind of thing. It was already basically.
Yeah, it was not accessible per
Right,
se.
so basically it was,
Up behind Brookwood.
yeah.
Right.
No, I'm just. again,
Call it- I think it was somewhere in the western woods.
Right.
In the western woods.
We've done our fair share, more than our fair share.
Yeah.
This 9 square miles.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I know there are people in town who think that we should put everything in conservation.
Yes,
And we
there
can
are.
all move out and do that.
They can sell their land for the conservation.
There you go, you know, I live on a rock. I want to conserve my rock then.
Any kids ready for a motion?
Yes,
Yep,
Move the select board approved to sign the purchase and sales
agreement for conservation restrictions and the grant of conservation restriction for the property located at 0 Coburn Road, Manchester.
Second.
Discussion, further discussion? John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. That is for both the purchase and sales and the conservation restriction. The town of Zola land at 22 Forest. We need to approve a conservation restriction, but that is between the owner and, MBCT. This-
I'm
Yes.
happy to speak to this if you.
Yes, of course.
Chris Lapointe, President of Essex County Greenbelt. I would have spoken to the previous two, but you seem to have had that handled, so thank you very much for that. This next request is for a portion of land that was given to Greenbelt by Steve and Marion Hall, 22 Forest Lane. And then the reference to Palazzolo is there's some additional acreage that's included that we are swapping with Palazzolo, and then we are putting a conservation restriction over land that we own to the Manchester Essex Conservation Trust. The reason we're putting an additional conservation restriction on land that Greenbelt owns is that this is actually part of the De Normandy Landscape Partnership Grant. So as part of the overall funding package for that project, this additional acreage helped to secure state grant monies by adding additional land that is eventually contiguous with the De Normandy land. So that's the reason for the timing. That's the reason for Greenbelt conveying a restriction to Manchester Essex Conservation Trust.
Question.
Yes.
You said that you are swapping the land. What are you swapping land for?
There is a piece of land that the Halls gave us that is on Palazzola's side of Forest.
Mhm.
That is essentially right next to their lawn. And their landscaping. What's that?
Developable?
No, it's not. And they own additional acreage that's further in, that's adjacent, so they're actually swapping more land for us than we are giving up. So we'll have a contiguous block, they'll have a contiguous block. Cleans up the edges, it's minor acreage. The vast majority of that land is land that was given to us by the Halls. About 16 acres total.
Did you follow that?
Yeah.
I looked at the maps and.
Yeah.
I should probably have gone really more, but I'm having a little trouble.
I mean, I saw where it is. It's all adjacent to 128 and it's next to all of these log,
The long skinny.
the long
woodlot.
skinny logging
Right,
lots.
and we own.
And you own all of
We
it.
own all of them,
And this
and
is right next to it between those lots and the highway.
exactly. And so that the largest parcel there, Greenbelt already owns.
Right.
And the only thing I think that's confusing here at all, if you look at the plan, is there's a parcel A, a parcel B, and a parcel C. Before this restriction goes on, we're swapping parcel A to Palazzolo, and parcel B and C are coming to us. And then we're putting a restriction over everything that we own.
Follow that.
So the request is, unlike the previous one where the town is the holder of the restriction, this is simply the select board's role in approving a restriction between Greenbelt and Manchester Essex Conservation Trust.
Okay, this is exhibit B. If you have,
Exhibit B. Let me just double check. Exhibit B, the plan of the premises, is that what you're asking?
yeah,
Yes.
we do, so. Just to be sure that I understand. There's Route 128.
Yep.
Kind of in the center. And below that is parcel. Which, Next.
If you please, I could approach your table and show you, because I can't read the print on here to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Close the bench.
I'd like to approach the bench. Okay, so this,
Ah,
Greenbelt owns,
okay,
and we'll have a conservation restriction. This parcel is gonna go to Palazola,
mm-hmm,
and these two parcels are gonna come to Greenbelt.
ah, so,
So then the conservation restriction will cover
okay,
all of this.
okay, and so these two are the,
Those are gonna come to
okay,
Greenbelt.
fine.
Yep.
And please show,
Would anyone else care?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, you can come
That
around.
map is sort of.
That map is better than. what's in
So-
the-
Yeah.
This
And
entire
I've
parcel
zoomed
is
in
owned
too
by
much.
Greenbelt.
yeah, yeah,
This parcel is this little bit that's next to their yard.
Yeah.
This is gonna go to Palazola. These parcels are gonna come from Palazola to Greenbelt.
This becomes all of Palazzola's plan right there.
Their house is right there.
thank you, that's.
Sorry for the unclarity of that.
No.
Plan.
Take something large and then reduce it a lot and then print it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
And I didn't realize it was 3, 4 fairly small pieces rather than any of the larger pieces. Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Other questions?
All right.
Then I will make a motion that the select board approve and sign the grant of conservation restriction for the property located at 22 Forest Lane.
Second,
Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Anne says yes, and John.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you all.
Mhm.
thank you very
Great.
much for coming.
Thanks,
It
Chris.
helps
Yep.
to know what we're talking about once in a while.
So Chris, just before you go, just
Yes.
coordinate the funds. So we have that check ready for Thursday.
And it likely will be later than that by the time we get everyone's signatures back to the state and the secretary signs and
Right.
gets back, but
Okay,
so that we're ready. Yeah.
so you want us to hold on to that until you're ready?
Why don't you hold on to it until we have the fully executed conservation restriction? So when we have the conservation commission's signatures notarized and select board's signatures notarized, you can send me a scan of that document that I can send to the state
Yes, okay.
and we'll go from there.
Right.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
The next item are the committee interviews. As you know, Donna has a conflict. So we will see her in 2 weeks. And Woody Kelly is here. And Woody, I'm going to just interrupt a little bit because it's complicated. There is. Let's see if I can actually reconstruct this. We are missing someone, the CPC is missing someone from, the land, or from the,
From the housing.
the housing authority. But there is somebody from the housing authority who's on as a general member. Correct. And if the housing authority doesn't have another person, then Joanne can move from the general to the housing, and then there is a general slot open. Otherwise, the open slot currently is Jack Burke's, and Jack would like to be reappointed. He's been chairman for several years. He's very conscientious. So
so we
We're-
have an opening,
we do not.
not the right kind of opening.
The official opening is from the housing.
Okay, but we do have an opening.
You have
It's
an-
just a little bit of musical chairs as to.
Yes, Jack
Yeah.
is up for reappointment. His term is up.
Okay.
So he's up for reappointment,
Yeah.
right? So, but your vacancy is because of Beth Heisey stepping down.
Oh, yes,
From
they
the house.
moved. Okay.
They're,
Yeah.
they're in the process of moving,
Okay.
so she's after
But the housing,
decades of town service is moving on.
but the housing authority has to officially appoint her to the
Joanne,
CPA.
To be their
Joe,
rep.
To be their rep.
yeah,
And so they have to have a meeting to do that, and then we know we have 2 openings.
well,
Well, and.
No.
and-
You have one opening and one reappointment.
Yeah, well, yes, okay,
right,
2 slots.
so.
Do we have to wait until they
Yeah,
So
move that before
I
we?
think it's fine to conduct the interview this
Yes,
evening,
okay.
but I would hold off making an official note until those dominoes fall.
Got it.
When does the housing authority meet next?
Sometime in June, I don't know.
Okay.
When I was talking.
Okay, what we generally do is ask the volunteer to give us a word or two about the qualifications and ambitions.
Well, I started,
Why don't you start by giving us your name and address, just because,
Would-
we have it, I'm sorry.
Woody Kelly.
Mhm.
11C, the Plains. I started, I found myself at the Arnold Arboretum in 1999 for a lecture of the introduction of the CPA by Whitney Hatch. And Axel Magnuson was with me. Coincidentally, we found each other there. And it was absolutely fascinating to listen to this new entity that took the legislature 15 years to create. So I came rushing back to town with Axel. And I found 2 loyal friends who were co-chairs of the Conservation Commission, because we needed, in order to work on creating a CPC, you had to create a CPC ballot committee legally.
Mhm.
So I asked George Smith and Tom Walker, co-chairs of the Conservation Commission, to sort of create a space for us as a ballot committee. But it took us 5.5 years to get the CPA passed at 0.5%. But, so I've been involved for a long time. And then after that, I became chair once or twice. I think at one point I was vice chair under Axel. But anyway, I have had a long history, including 2, not so long ago, retirements from the CPC because of some of your rulings that you wanted new people. But tonight, Jack Burke has asked me, would I be available? And I said, of course.
Questions?
Woody, I mean, your reputation precedes you, that's a good thing.
You mean the good one?
The good Woody, yes. No, so I don't have any questions. You're a well-known entity, especially with regard to the CPC and the CPA in terms of your instrumental involvement in getting it created. And it's done a lot of good things here in town. And I thank you for that.
I obviously you're very well, more than well qualified for the role, so thank you again for being willing to serve. I just have a logistics question again, so the vacancy is because Beth Heisey, the Housing Authority rep, has moved. So that's the opening. The Housing Authority will move who?
Joan McDonald.
Joan McDonald. Okay, so she's the at-large.
She's
I
currently
saw
the
2 at-large, and I was
Right.
trying to figure out, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
I'm done. Thank you for being willing to serve. Do you have any questions?
No, I've got a question. Obviously, you must have spoken to the chair at some point.
Numerous phone calls, that's fine, yeah.
And the channeling with Becky Jakes. Can you have the time, please? I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you for all your previous work and your interest to continue on.
I hope we can get everything kind of slid together.
Should fit.
Jack is quite confident
Okay,
that it'll work out.
great. But I think
I think we need
we
to
need
hold off.
to
on the
hold
draft
off
decision.
until
So we see how that.
all of the pieces are in fact aligned. And thank you again for your,
I was told to show up tonight and be
Fine.
interviewed, so here I am.
and
You
you've
have-
been interviewed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. And hope we will see you often.
I look forward.
yeah,
Thanks.
Nice to see you.
okay, yep.
So I'm through.
You're through.
You're okay.
Smith.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay. The next item is the alcohol license change for 35 Beach. Okay. Any discussion? Oh, it's me. Okay, all right. I move that the select board approve the change of manager application for 35 Beach.
Second.
Discussion? Brian,
I'm good.
Jeff,
Yes.
Just like.
Kathy,
Yes.
and says yes, John.
John, yes.
Okay. Next is the facility planning committee charge. And I have one small change that I would like to see in the second paragraph after the list of members. So the facility committee work to implement projects discussed in the facility master plan and others. Because there are things that we are doing that are not in facilities master plan that including a harbor master's office, and I think a senior center.
Sure, yeah.
And
Those are not in the.
No,
no,
they're not.
no, they're not. And just so that they are not restricted to the parameters in the facilities.
Sure.
I have a general question, because I had a question along those lines too, and like, where do you draw the line?
Well, the charter needs, this charge needs to draw the line.
Yeah, you know, because you can go right down to, I mean, I was just looking through the capital plan or the capital expense line for what we voted this past April. I mean, there's stuff that could go in there. I'm not talking tasers, but there are repairs like the library windows. Does that wind up here? That's a DPW, that stays in the room
It's
there.
operational, that,
So that.
But where does that, how do they draw that line? That's gonna have to be,
Bathhouse.
So, so in that example, I would call those windows, really a maintenance repair
yes.
item. It's not a new facility or a major renovation.
It's not a new facility, but I mean, to go back to the library, they really have some basement issues. There may be some sort of a heating system that has to get involved. I mean,
I think,
the
on a board level, though, I don't think we should be engaged.
no, we aren't.
And well, I mean, the committee that we appoint, I
Yeah.
So the focus really should be on the big
major expenses.
facilities.
I
Major renovation,
agree with
new
that.
building.
I think it has to be left to them to decide, what are we gonna look at? And what are we,
So-
Dollar value to it?
And I think DPW could guide the committee pretty well on that.
yeah,
Chuck has his hand up actually, so he may.
yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say that, I think you guys are on the right track. It's the major facility master plan and major stuff, but I think it's pretty. The idea of having somebody from select board, FinCom,
No.
planning board and Concom is because they all have typically some sort of jurisdictional kind of influence on these projects, all four of them. So at a minimum, I would say 3 out of the 4 must have some other, voting authorization over the project in general anyway. So like library windows, none of you really, I mean, obviously there's town meeting and getting on the warrant and talking about it at FinCom, but that's like our general process. These are much bigger projects where there will be a, presentations and, um, you know,
Typically,
overall projects that will be going, to these boards formally. So I think that's kind of the distinction I draw in my mind is, um, all of these kind of, like you mentioned the harbor master's office. I mean, that's going to be very much a planning board, select board, FinCom, Concom, like that's definitely where we want to see this committee spend its time.
So in order to address Ann's additional phrasing, do we want to put something in there about, other projects requiring some sort of board level approval by more than one board, something, Greg? I don't know if you can.
I don't know, I'm
to
looking
keep it
at,
at a high enough level that we're not micromanaging Chuck's team.
like Ocean
Right.
Street.
I mean, I think it should also be, well, I would say Ocean Street's not really a facility, so I don't think that it would
No.
be part of this.
I know,
But
being a
we are
6-figure
trying to
project.
keep it somewhat, focused on buildings
Yeah,
and decision for buildings.
I think what you're getting at, John, is large capital expenses, but we have a
Yeah.
finance committee to kind of work through that with. I think what Chuck is looking for is, an efficient way to get it through these major facilities or renovations through the boards that are gonna have to approve them anyway, right? And by bringing representatives together, hopefully that process would be
We will-
faster.
We'll rely on the judgment of the committee to decide what's going on, and the projects that are big, well, we're gonna know about them anyway.
Yeah, you
Right,
would,
and I think it would be something to the effect of, as determined by, what Ann said was fine, but also as determined by, DPW and town administrator or select board, however you want to phrase it, but, we will try to alleviate nitpicking every last final detail
Right.
on projects that really aren't on the purview of the committee.
I'm okay with your wording here.
Okay, how about leaving out the facilities major plan and just saying, we'll do,
Just major projects, I know.
implement major building projects.
yeah, say major building
Yeah,
project.
that-
really does
Something
something like-
project that keeps it simple, okay.
Kind of qualitative, but I think
Okay. And major building, that they will work to implement the major building, to implement major building projects.
The item that I didn't see covered in the chart, and maybe I'm not seeing it and it's here, but I think of the other task force that we set up, the MBTA 3A, et cetera, and that I know is a task force and we're doing a committee here, but wouldn't one of the responsibilities here be public engagement in this process? I didn't quite see that in the charge unless I just read it too fast and missed it. Because we want them to, I think the at-large members, that'll be nice, but that's not enough to,
Okay.
engage the public and make sure we hear their feedback.
yeah, it's not specifically mentioned, but
Right.
Yeah,
perhaps it should.
so in the list of,
One
provide
of the
formal
bullets.
offer preliminary design, streamline the review process. Perhaps before streamline the review process, solicit public input.
And they may need to hold a public forum or,
Right.
I'm not sure what the right phrasing is, if it's hearing or forum or
It'd be forums.
public forum. to
Engage and
the-
inform the public,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, okay, engage and inform the public.
And I think the only other thing we had talked about, but I don't remember what we decided, but we talked about since this wasn't going to be a task force. And it was desired that it be a committee, we talked about some type of, I'll say term limits or, especially for, you know, the at-large members, are we going to allow people to be on these committees for, 10, 16 years, or do we want to have?
So again, I think typically you appoint someone for 3 years. But you might want to stagger
Mhm.
the initial appointment.
Yeah, but they'd be subject to the
But,
same.
And then you have your general policy on
Yeah.
Yeah.
committees.
So I didn't see the staggering of the, is it in?
Yeah, it was there somewhere.
Okay, maybe I'm sorry.
Might have been in the
It was in the original.
email document.
Yeah, I'm just looking
Oh.
at this one page.
Yeah, and.
That's sort of operationally.
Yeah.
That's
So,
sort of-
okay, this would be the charge, we can
Okay.
make a separate operational, how we get this booted
Got it.
up, and
Okay,
who's a 1 year and who's a 2 year.
got
and-
it.
Yeah, the
and How
initial,
long the terms are.
the initial email says the typical 3-year appointment will be utilized with initial appointments having staggered
And
terms.
I think that doesn't need to be part of the charge, but
No,
the. Okay, so with the correction from going from master plan, to implement major building projects and the addition of a line about engage and inform the public, is this a charge that we can support?
yes,
I will make a motion. I move that the board approve the charge as amended. As we just amended for the facility planning committee.
Second,
John,
yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. Okay.
So the timing on setting that up then, it's,
Yeah, as you know, we should advertise the at large, get that out on the street.
And let the various committees know that we're. looking
Contact,
for-
yeah, exactly.
And,
I mean, I am interested in supporting this committee for the select board. I do have a background, that I can leverage. I'm happy to do that. Great.
welcome to yet another committee. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. The, um. Next is the flag policy.
I had a question.
Yep,
There isn't a lot of specificity, I don't think, in our policy statement about the fact that the flagpole out there on the sidewalk and the common is the town flagpole. We say in general, there are town flagpoles.
Well, it's the commemorative.
Is for the commemorative, yes, for commemorative flags.
That's why I was gonna note, I thought we wanted to designate that. new
Well, that's
flag.
correct.
Cause I already thought you're the one that wanted to keep on calling for town, TOWNE. Everything.
okay.
That was a comment, but if that had been spelled TOWNE, there would be no confusion. But I look back at the minutes of May 5th and May 19th. And in May 5th, we discussed flag protocol discussion, and we did say designating a specific flagpole for commemorative flags. We didn't say what flagpole, we just said a specific flagpole. And then in the following meeting, at a motion that Kathy had made, we said, and to approve applying the LGBTQ pride flag on the town flagpole nearest Central Street. So that makes a suggestion. There are lots of town flagpoles. We want to do the town flagpole next to Central Street. Well, I think we ought to just say
Okay.
in our
maybe
policy,
where it says commemorative flagpoles, consistent with town, mission and priorities. Commemorative flags shall be flown on the pole closest to Central Street.
yeah, at the edge of the common, or
At the
I'm not going to use the term town flagpole.
Don't use, because we have lots of town flags.
Yeah, no, you can't, but I think you need to say that the commemorative flags will be flown on that flagpole, just a one-liner,
Yep, okay.
so that everybody knows
Yep.
that's the deal.
Um,
Otherwise, every time we fly a commemorative flag, we have to.
Right. Right, I don't wanna say that we'll take down the American flag necessarily. I think that's something that.
That's
can be left to the-
operational,
That's
yeah.
operational.
Yeah, we leave
Future
that.
boards may can do something
So,
different.
So I have been contacted by several residents that have a concern that the American flag is not on there right now.
Mhm.
I'm not saying this is my position, but I'm relaying,
Yes.
I was asked to relay this to the board,
Okay.
so. So what? That's gonna be a case by case basis, or
No.
how are we gonna handle it?
I thought we discussed that anytime a commemorative flag was gonna be flown in that pole, all other flags would be taken down.
It doesn't say that here,
But
though.
we
It
just.
doesn't say anything.
Doesn't say.
I know that in looking through, and I think I made that point two meetings ago, in looking to see if the towns that did fly commemorative flagpoles on a commemorative, commemorative flags on a specific pole, that the majority, not an overwhelming majority, but like 60 or 70%, they would not fly the American flag. They
I
just
think
have-
there's the,
But
on coming off of Cabot by the, there's a Vietnam Veterans Memorial there with a couple of flagpoles. You take a right.
but to go up, yeah, go down, get on to 22.
Outside of the library, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I believe that when there's only
I
one
mean,
commemorative flag on that flag.
not every flagpole has to have the American flag. I used to
No.
work for a global company. We supported lots of countries, okay? And we had the big flagpole with the American flag, the POW flag, and there was like three other ones, surrounding it with flags of other countries, commemorative, things. So every single flagpole did not have the American flag.
Mhm.
And it's just, I know, of course,
And
having
this-
multiple
And
flagpoles.
as I recall, but one of the reasons we did this was we wouldn't have this kind of
Correct.
controversy.
Exactly.
yes. And the
Still
flag,
out there, I
Well,
can tell you.
okay, and I can tell you
Right, no, and I totally
that
understand.
the
that.
flagpole is not that tall.
And
And if you have a commemorative flag that is, significant size, you're starting to get low.
at half-staff,
That's
even the small town flag was too big.
yeah.
And was beating up the lights and.
And I think that was part of our rationale.
I just think it wasn't.
So the question is, do you want to,
I wouldn't codify that, I just leave it.
okay,
And just make sure that the flagpole is identified. That's it.
the other
Drawn
thing
out.
I didn't see in the policy, which I thought we had talked about when we first did this a couple of years ago, was I thought the commemorative flags had to accompany a proclamation.
Yes.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that, did I miss
I didn't see
something? 'Cause
that.
I didn't
That'd
see
be
that
kind of
in
a-
here.
Yeah, I did see that.
Maybe the select board authorizes this display as an expression of the town's. Okay.
Yeah, it says,
Yep.
Okay.
Right after 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
and it probably
like-
should say. So,
Cause it's
Yes.
the proclamation that we're approving and
Yes.
the flag is
I don't think it goes under,
represents that.
Well, just your paragraph, your next.
yeah, or it would go under the commemorative flags paragraph. It should be another sentence. After
Mhm.
commemorative flags in this policy, the term blah, 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 select board chooses to honor or commemorate consistent with the town's mission and priorities. And will issue a proclamation.
I think that one of the reasons we did that was so we wouldn't deny flying a flag,
Correct.
anyone's flag.
That's right.
That was how this whole thing started, correct?
Mhm.
It's government speech.
It's government
You want to make it official government speech. And
Which
to
is a
make it,
proclamation.
Yeah.
proclamations make it that official government speech.
So I think that should be added to the.
I would put it at the end of that sentence, yeah, the commemorative flags paragraph,
mhm.
where we say we choose to honor or commemorate
Um,
consistent with town's mission. That really
Yeah,
follows on
mhm.
mission and priorities.
Or you could, where it talks about government speech, you could amend that sentence, the select board would authorize the display of commemorative flags as an expression of the town's official government speech.
Mhm.
Through the
via-
approval of
and-
proclamation.
Yes,
It could go there too.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
know,
the word
that's why,
proclamation has to be in there.
I think right with the
You go
governor's
there too.
speech makes it very clear why the flag would be flown. It's
Mhm.
the approval of the proclamation.
Mhm. Okay. Do you have that, Debbie?
Yeah, I'll just listen.
I have.
I think we would like to see this one more time.
One more time.
Yeah,
If we're, as long as we're making changes, since all three of the groups that, in town that we would apply, lower the flag for, have the same duration, maybe just one bullet that has a list.
Right.
And a current select board member.
Sure. Right.
Another 3 years anyway.
I think you can make it, Brian. A little healthy.
I don't know.
We'll get you there.
Just repent.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could consult.
Yes, consolidate, yeah.
And,
I don't like the pressure of trying to get out within 24 hours.
fine, and there's, the word board is missing.
Oh, yeah.
Be-
Okay.
So could we get a copy of this clean as it's gonna get?
Yeah.
Yep, I'll
for
make the
next
changes.
I have to listen to it twice.
Ask me the second glass of wine when you listen.
meeting. Everybody, seems like a reasonable.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. The next is a discussion of a potential new board committee meeting protocol. I think Brian, you would want to.
Yeah,
do this?
I said, I try to. Get in on a, Concom meeting 2 weeks ago. So
Yep.
yes, it was, okay, and there was a lot of, it just,
They couldn't get
get
Zoom.
on, they couldn't get a Zoom.
Yeah.
Which in and of itself made me start to think about the entire process.
Mhm.
Is that I believe that on these, where we are adjudicating people's lives and, they're, okay, that we shouldn't be hiding behind Zoom calls. People should be able to face the applicant should be able to face any of the neighbors that weren't considering this. And I just think that I don't know why it's we have all these boards,
Mhm.
we all sit in here, we all show up. And I think that should be protocol for all committees and commissions. And
So
that's-
can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Because the initial agenda item said all boards and committees, but we have like 7 or 8
But I think they're all,
Well, so here's the thing. Most of our boards and committees are just advisory. And I am a little bit concerned, like the downtown improvement, they've been 100% Zoom. And they're very effective and it allows other people to participate. So I was just wondering if we take this step, could we take a baby step and just say for
with that.
the committees that make decisions, like you said, can we institute a rule just
no,
for them and
Okay,
not
for that,
mess with
what I
everybody
did
else?
do was I went through a bunch of agendas
Mhm.
on the website.
Mhm.
And I found the ones that I saw were all hybrid or in person, Winthrop Fields in person. Okay, because they meet over there. Okay, I didn't see one, and I didn't get to the.
Yeah, downtown improvement, they're.
Okay,
been
and then I
100%.
get to Concom, okay, which is virtual.
Mhm.
Now, what I had asked Steve Gang 6 months ago,
Mhm.
why he wasn't meeting in person with a quorum. And the response was that it's more convenient. He says that
Well, sure it is.
applicants find it's more convenient. I don't want to convenience over due process.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think that the Concom is as important as the ZBA, as the planning board, as the select board, we all manage to meet here in a room, here, this room, in the back room.
Mhm.
Talking once a month,
Mhm.
we all live in town. And with the case of the ZBA, the planning board, applicants might be bringing consultants from out of town. A lot of times they'll zoom in,
Mhm.
but I think it's important, just like we're having this conversation back and forth. Okay, there's something lost via Zoom. We saw it during COVID. And I think that COVID is in our rearview mirror. I don't want to revisit that at all. I understand that by going Zoom, we've opened up the door for a lot of people to attend these meetings, but I think the core of the meetings should be held.
When you say the core, I had another question, because you talked about the chair and a quorum being here.
Yes.
Well, Ann goes on her trip, look, like,
And
can
then-
she delegate a chair
John-
responsibility?
Yeah, no, I was,
John, when
yeah, I'm the guy in August.
The chair.
Okay.
It's just the way it is.
That's where
We
we've
can
done
still
it.
hold the meeting and you can still go on your trip.
I can still go on my trip, but I
No, no,
can.
You can delegate that.
John, you've always chaired that.
The key is having a quorum, whether it's the official chair or the elected chair or whatever, or somebody else, but you have to have a quorum.
Yeah.
In the room.
So let me play devil's advocate again. So what about situation where it's just, a nasty blizzard in January and we don't really wanna come downtown? I mean, do we wanna make any exceptions allowable for reasons of, weather or some other
What
type
did
of
we do?
unforeseen event where we still could have the meeting, but,
Well,
I'm just asking, I'm just
What have we
throwing.
done before Zoom?
Well, what I'm saying, Brian, is Zoom is a
Cancel the
new
meeting.
thing.
Cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but the reason I'm saying, posing the question is because Zoom opened people's eyes. And some of the eyes have been open for 20 years, because if you work for a global company, you've dealt with these types of meetings for a very long time. The issue is that with a volunteer force, you don't have the resources to properly train people to conduct these meetings efficiently, and everybody's just doing the best they can with the technology and managing that. So I support what you're doing. I'm ready to agree to it, but I just would rather not throw everything out and say everybody's gonna meet, in person, when we have some very effective committees who are 100%
Okay,
virtual.
I'll.
Yeah.
Horse trading with you.
Yeah, no, good, but I just, like I said,
I think, I don't
you
have, I
can't run a
think you're
global
right.
company if
I
everybody
will,
shows up in the
you
same
know,
room.
I think that you do make a good point as far as if I compare downtown improvement.
It's not gonna hurt
All
anybody.
advisory, they're all volunteers, but I think that something is important where there's a lot of money involved, a lot of these
Absolutely.
people.
I
Okay,
agree.
they deserve the right to be met.
Okay with that.
And then if there's a weather condition, there's a good chance that no one's gonna be interested, they'll be out.
That's fine, I just wanted.
They just cancel. Just cancel. I think the meetings have to be under those
So
circumstances.
Debbie, we used to have a list of the adjudicatory committees. And we.
Do you have
could-
that?
It was in,
Like as we
we
speak?
had that when we did
Yeah.
the project with Susan.
Kind of look on.
Which ones?
See which ones.
We
they
had to
have.
go through some fine tuning there, make sure so I want, Debbie is the business process owner for that, and I want to make sure
The
we,
gatekeeper.
the gatekeeper,
Mhm.
yeah. We've got the list.
My only concern, but the way this came up was that a meeting had to be canceled because the Zoom couldn't be.
Yeah, yes, it
But-
came up, but this is something that's been bothering me for 6 months.
Understood, yeah.
I understand that. My problem is if we advertise the meeting as hybrid and we can't get the Zoom to work, then the meeting has to be canceled anyway.
Well, so that brings up a really good point, Ann, because I was gonna ask, is there specific wording that we need to adjust to allow a meeting to take place even if there's no Zoom?
So I think you just say it's in person, but have a Zoom link. If you don't say it's hybrid, right?
That's, I just want to make sure what the phrasing is
I'm gonna check with,
legally clear.
I can check with legal, but I think if you position the Zoom feature as a convenience.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got to have the right language and make sure the town clerk, when they post these
That-
things, yeah.
That doesn't solve my problem. Because the Zoom failures come up at the last minute, and the planning board has had a whole series of these. And it seems to have stopped, but if you discover at the last minute that your Zoom link isn't going to work, then you have people who expect to be able to be here, be involved, and can't. Particularly true with the Concom and the planning board, where they have outside consultants who plan to come in on Zoom.
Right.
So, Greg, in your note, you said that if they were here in room 5, they wouldn't have had the problem.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, because.
Yeah.
This
That's the
machine will
computer.
never kick you off. Because of credentials. So that was the problem they had.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The other-
Actually, Chuck had.
She was using a different
Yes.
computer and it didn't, and Zoom, our Zoom
We're
account
not
didn't
using a
recognize that.
town Zoom account?
They were using a Zoom
Yeah.
town account, but on a different computer.
And there was also some additional security that had been added to avoid some of the embarrassing interruptions that we've had,
Right.
which required that they be get
Every
a
10
second
minutes.
permission, and the second permission went to somebody who wasn't there.
Okay.
And I think I would rather watch some embarrassing footage than have a level of security that keeps people from using the Zoom in room 7.
Right. So she's turned that feature off.
Okay,
So that doesn't require that second verification.
or find a second verification. No, we're not going to tie anybody to being available to.
But if, again, you know, these two rooms are set up so that whenever you log onto Zoom, you're gonna log in. It's gonna recognize you.
I do think we need to, if we're leaning towards doing this, I do think just out of professional courtesy, we should be contacting these, 7 or 8 adjudicatory committees and make sure we understand the impact
I-
of how they're operating.
I spoke with Steve Gang. He's very happy with the way this works. Their support person lives an hour away, and it's much more convenient for him or her not to have to drive in for the meeting.
I see a hand, FYI.
Yes, Jack,
Hi, everybody. Jack Burke, CPC Chair. We've been meeting via Zoom.
That's.
Exhibit A.
There we go.
We lost
That's
it,
my
Jack.
case. Thank you very much, Counselor. Let's rest.
Jack, we've lost your audio. But I gather that the CPC has been meeting.
But virtual.
They haven't been doing virtual.
They're not a jury.
Yeah, this would not affect,
I'm okay with it. Okay with that.
I understand, especially if you're planning board, you're looking at plan.
And then you and I can talk about things.
There you go.
Okay, but the plan, it may very well be that the people who are presenting the plans are
Right.
remote,
Understand.
because people who do that,
So that's why I think we may need to get some input from these
Yes.
committees, because we do want to reduce the likelihood of an actual meeting cancellation because of something. That's, the technology is very helpful.
We run into the same situation here. Okay, we're here.
Like I said, I've only been on the select board since I retired, and I gotta be honest with you, I had an hour and 15, hour and a half commute. Okay, for my job, and getting here by 6:30 would have been not too challenging on a Monday. Okay, but
Yeah.
talk to me on a Wednesday or a Thursday, it's nasty, depending on where you're coming from. So if you have consultants or other people, it's.
particularly since consultants are likely to have more than one
Well, no,
meeting.
and I
They're not
sat
likely
on
to
the
live in
CBA.
Cape Ann.
Okay, I
I
sat on the
think you should
CBA.
continue with the Zoom option.
Right, and.
I'm not saying to
Right.
mix that.
Exactly. I sat on the ZBA and 50% of the time applicants made a full presentation via Zoom,
Mhm,
okay? But the select board sat here. I mean, the ZBA was here,
mhm.
all right? If we had questions, we could talk to each other, show things to each other. And if there was some people that were opposed to it, they may have been in the room. I
Mhm.
want people to look us right in the eye. Okay? I think that, like I said, when I was running, I said, I want to bring government back to the people.
Mhm.
All right, and right now we're hiding behind, a lot of us are hiding, so that's my.
Chuck,
Can I be heard? Can you hear me now?
oh, Jack, yes, now I can hear
Chuck,
you.
they sound the same.
Yeah, we meet by Zoom only. We don't meet in person. I hope we wouldn't be forced to meet in person. If we do meet in person, I wouldn't do Zoom. I would just do meet in person. I would not do hybrid. And we would lose our secretary who would not come to our meetings.
Okay,
Why wouldn't you do hybrid, Jack?
Well, we have terrible trouble with the technology already. And I guess if somebody else is willing to do it on my committee, fine. But we also meet some places other than rooms 5 and 7 occasionally. And I don't know what that means. If we're meeting at Tux Point, we've met at Crowell Chapel, we've met at Seaside 1. We meet at 5:30 in the afternoon. That allows people to meet via Zoom that are working. Muffin Driscoll sometime is still at Bishop Fenwick. Dean Nahadas is still sometimes at his office. It would necessitate us changing the time. Getting a room is not easy. I know Rosemary Costello, their committee meets after us sometimes. I see several conflicts with us moving forward if we were forced to meet in person and continue it as hybrid especially.
okay, but I think right now we're talking about,
Just adjudicatory.
Yes, just adjudicatory. And I sit on the Historic Commission that Rosemary runs. And I was head of that for a couple of years. And we meet in person. And in fact, I can't remember an application that the applicant was not in person.
So
The people that are virtual, occasionally there is 1 or 2 people on the commission that are virtual, but we're in person and we virtually always have a quorum.
Mhm.
And the secretary is virtual most of the time.
just another thing to keep in mind. As a matter of practice, all in-person meetings or all Zoom meetings are the easiest ones to manage. When you have a hybrid situation, they are the most difficult to manage. And I used to do this for really big teams. The hybrid meetings were the worst to manage because you have to make sure the people on the Zoom are heard.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need to assign a buddy, you know, so I just think that,
Mhm.
if we just focus on the decision-making meetings, you know, talk to those other committees, make sure we just talk to all of them and make sure we're not hurting them.
I have
You know.
no problem doing that as a baby step,
Yeah.
first step. But I think the decision makers.
I think probably,
Chuck, speaking of having to manage. And thank you, Greg, for watching these things and letting us know that we're missing something. Chuck, please.
I was just gonna say in Wenham, they actually do what you're talking about, where the in-person people are, there, but they also leave the Zoom as just a courtesy to the public, and so that's I think how they, make sure that they don't have to cancel the meeting. And I would just say, as a point for these adjudicatory boards that are managing, if the Zoom doesn't work for whatever reason, like that meeting the other night with Concom, like I was planning on being in the room, I would have still been able to speak to our project, like, and so it wouldn't have cost us on that front. Like maybe, yeah, my consultant wouldn't have been able to, do the share screen Zoom part of it, but I don't think I would have needed that. I could have still done my part. So maybe it does mean that some parts of the meeting get continued for whatever reason, but like I think you could also get a lot of business done without, as long as you have that option of in person, we're here, we're doing the core meeting stuff. And if if some people can't zoom in, then they can't zoom in. But the idea is that they would be allowed to, but just if there's some failure. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
I disagree that if a meeting is advertised as hybrid and somebody wants to join and can't join and doesn't find out until the last minute, it is the opposite of transparency.
So we're gonna change the,
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're saying in your meeting that it's a in-person meeting, but that it will be shown on Zoom as a courtesy, then that's the expectation is that it's a courtesy. We tried. We're not trying to, cancel the Zoom. It just
So it's- I
sometimes
think
things happen.
I think it's worth Greg going back to council to check on the legal language as to how we would want to post the meetings to make it clear that it's an in-person meeting, but we'll kind of do our best to either record it or make it available via Zoom.
I mean, I would
I don't
be
know.
more comfortable with recording it and
Yeah.
saying you can't watch it live.
Yeah.
Which is,
Say that again.
that the meeting would be recorded but not available live. So if the Zoom failed, we still have a recording, I guess.
We could have we'd have an audio, we'd be hard pressed to have
Yeah, video.
a video of it.
It's okay. I mean,
Do check. It's
just
just,
to run a global organization with
I am
just phone calls.
very uncomfortable with restricting what we're currently
well, I
on.
think we gotta look into what Chuck with the town of Windsor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with Chuck's comments on that.
It's just about whatever the language is to make it clear to people that we'll do our best, but
Okay, but if somebody has a consultant that
Right,
wants
right.
this,
then they might have to plan. to
And if
be-
somebody has a strong opinion that they definitely want to be heard, it's in your best interest to show up.
Exactly.
Otherwise, if you're just listening in because you're an interested party, and things are recorded anyway, I mean, minutes are out there allegedly within 2 weeks.
No, yeah, they are.
Well,
But if the Zoom fails, then we're not necessarily gonna have a recording,
right? Okay,
because we
No.
rely on Zoom for the
But
recording.
yeah, and the minutes are,
Jack, you still have your hand up.
Yes, one more comment. Nobody from the public has ever come to a CPC meeting ever. The only people who come to our meetings are those who put applications in, who want money. And we're happy to have it that way. We have a public hearing every September that we advertise for 2 weeks in the Cricket. Not one person in the last 10 years has ever come to it, other than people from boards and committees that are looking to put an application in. So I would hope our committee would not be one that you would force to sit
No.
and have a in-person
Right.
and hybrid meeting.
That's probably true of the other not,
Well,
just advisory meeting. Yeah.
Parks and Rec. And that's a hybrid,
Mhm.
okay? I think, other than when we had some real controversy,
Yeah, well, no one wants to-
Pickleball.
no one wants to join the pickleball club.
Okay. that was a full room.
Yeah.
All right, but those people, because it was important, chose to be there.
Okay. What shall we do? I think we need to contact the adjudicatory boards, ask for their comments. Would you like to write a, policy?
Is it an update, Greg, would it be an update to some existing policy or would it be a new policy?
It's really a new, we don't have a
We don't have-
formal policy.
We didn't do anything about policies during COVID or after, so this is a new,
We've been relying on state
yeah,
Okay.
temporary permissions.
this is,
All right, so I'll do my homework.
thank you. Great.
Jackie's gonna do
I knew I was gonna go. You do such good writing, I got.
The next is beach parking. Greg. What do we do? Or what can we do?
So, as I say, a few options. We could pursue working with the school, and seeing, I think they'd be amenable to having a lot used on weekends. There may be 1 or 2 weekends that are blacked out if there's a big event happening at the school that weekend.
Labor Day weekend comes to.
I don't know if both schools would be used, but so certainly could pursue that. Could talk to the scouts to see what their interest
Yeah,
is in helping, continuing, relocating basically.
mhm.
Um, you know, there are potentially a couple of other options in town. And it might not work every weekend, but parking behind the Legion might be a cost of a share fundraising that might be attractive.
Yeah, it would be.
Has that ever been explored?
Well, the problem is if they have a function.
Well, I understand that. But if they don't have anything going on, I mean, that's probably good for what, 30, 40 cars, 30 cars? And they would put a
Yeah,
sandwich
40.
board out by, you know, Seaside One and say beach parking that way and people would see what's.
50 cars.
Well, actually, I mean, we're also gonna be discussing on the consent agenda is the livery license renewal for the beach bums. Will they be able to
Well, that's, It-
like
Potentially, I
go
think that,
back and forth to the school lot, you know?
Yeah.
that's critical. But for the Legion, you don't need that. For the school lot, that's just too far. And how do the beach bums?
I
get
don't
their-
know, they came up to, I saw them near Pine Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, how do
They're
they,
tooling all over town.
They're tooling all over town, yeah.
how do they, are they just flagged down or do they have a contact?
I think they,
Like,
There was
So it's a fairly defined area they're on.
Train station and then right by Captain Dusty's.
yeah, they were in Captain Dust.
So they kind of like flag down like a cab in New York City?
They kind of just stop and people get on and.
They do take a parking spot.
All right, see, if there's a space, if you use parking at the high school, you have to have some way of contacting them. I'm standing here, I'm a mile and a half from the beach.
Unless they're just gonna do a road, you know, that's what like the Rockport.
Yeah, that's usually what they
Just does
do.
the road.
Cater.
I think the first, I'm concerned that the Boy Scouts or the Scouts won't be interested in trying to compete with the 40 Beach, which I believe Tom Pio said that they have hired someone to run that lot.
At what price?
I didn't think. of
Well, if
that.
it's under $40, then Gloucester is
Well,
charging.
Gloucester's $45.
Yeah.
It's $45. And that is a relevant question.
Well, we don't have anyone to ask.
Yeah,
I know that a couple of years ago, there was talk about putting parking meters at Forty Beach.
Mhm.
Obviously, never did anything about it, but if you're at Dunkin' Donuts, you see people parking there and they're just unpacking their cars
Mhm.
with impunity, they don't really care. And then, remember the days when they used to tow it, used to be, the Crosby used to have someone sitting outside.
yeah.
Okay. So apparently people don't really care what they do with their cars and how much it's gonna cost to get to the beach.
So are we clear that the people at 40 Beach are gonna be running a,
Nothing's going on yet, right?
nothing yet?
He had told me that, yes, they're just getting it together, they're gonna work.
Okay, so we're not gonna lose any beach parking.
No, that's the key, we're not losing. beach
That's
parking.
why I brought it up at the last meeting, because I thought we were losing 25 spaces. If somebody else is gonna run it, then we're not losing spaces.
Mhm.
And the beach is pretty crowded anyway, so.
Well, and you know, I'm curious what the scouts, what they see from a market perspective. On a really nice day, are they just turning away one car after another? Or,
well, I'm sure they are.
Yeah, when it gets full, it's full.
Yeah.
and it's all weather driven.
Correct.
Oh,
So the Boy Scouts are really who's.
Yep,
yeah, they're in a difficult
they're
position.
losing 2/3 of.
Well, can we explore the Legion thing? I'm curious about that.
I can talk to somebody. if you want.
Yeah, and see, we understand it would
I don't
not
think
be,
it's-
and I don't know if the scouts would be interested. Maybe the scouts are the first people you gotta ask. Say, hey,
I'm sure they're interested to make money, I mean, but it's gonna be what kind of deal. The problem with the Legion is you're gonna be working around their summer event schedule.
yes,
You know what I mean?
it's not gonna be
Gonna
every
be
Saturday. It's just, it's not,
Mostly on weekends.
Do they are there summer events normally in the evenings or mostly during the day, or it's a crapshoot?
It's like a
Legion
wedding,
riders.
wedding would be during the day, or,
Legion riders usually take off once or twice on Saturdays.
and they should have their schedule pretty.
It's worth a
mapped
discussion.
out. Yeah, I mean,
If half of the dates are open,
yeah,
And they're looking to make some money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps, you
They're
know?
looking at.
I think we
fix
need
the
to,
roof.
we need to know that and then find out if the scouts would be interested on a, halftime sort of thing.
or if they're be interested in doing something at the school, that.
The school has to tie in with the golf cart.
Less so than, I mean, if people drive up, let everybody out, all over here,
Send the driver in the car back.
send the
over.
driver in the car back over.
Still, it's a long way.
Cut through the
And
memorial.
you have somebody who's
We're gonna
an
have
Uber,
people-
just sit there,
Really, they're
make
gonna live
money
in-
all day
yeah.
long.
It sort of becomes a target-rich environment for Uber drivers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we're doing that now with boaters, right? A lot of out-of-town boaters.
yeah.
They'll unload and then go park satellite and then figure out how to get back here.
Jack. has his
Jack.
hand up again.
Go ahead, Jack.
Here we go.
Okay. Um. Who knows the Boy Scouts?
I know the Boy Scouts.
Okay.
I can ask them and say,
Yeah.
we're exploring both, two possibilities. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Check with the Legion.
Yeah, well, shoot me an email or something when you
Yeah.
find out.
I will.
Can you hear me now?
There
Yes.
you go.
You can't hear me. A little institutional memory. I was chairman of the parking committee 10 years ago. We approached the school, we approached the Legion, and neither were interested at that time in doing anything. The Legion felt that they wanted the parking to be open for their members at all time. Their bar opens at 3 PM on Saturdays and Sundays, and they did not want it there to be any problem at all. That was their, and that was their thoughts at that time. The school did not respond at all to any requests. And Todd Fitzgerald and I did keep an eye on the school. On the 90-degree days, there would probably be 30 or 40 cars parked up at the high school. But on the 70-degree, 75-degree weekend days, there was nobody there.
Mhm. Thank you. I think the school has been more receptive, but I understand the problem of it's a long way if it's not a great beach day.
I've seen people, and I used to play tennis, I know that sounds funny. At the high school, at Memorial,
Yeah,
right, on Sunday morning, you'd see people parking on Lincoln.
Yep.
Okay, unloading their cars and making that trek. If people wanna go to the beach, they're gonna go to the beach.
I don't need to go to the beach that bad.
Yeah, I like to drive by these people, laugh at them, and then I see a cloud and I get in my car and I leave.
I'm more insulted by the fact they're stealing parking spaces for tennis players.
Okay, so what we're doing about beach parking is, John, you're going to talk.
I'm gonna talk to scouts and
talk
see
to
if
scouts to
there's,
See if they're interested in some alternate locations. And Jeff, you're going to talk to the Legion, and I will get in touch with the schools and see if they're willing to do something. And the goal of this is partly to provide beach parking, but mostly to provide some income for the Boy Scouts. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, the special events permit to include waterfront events. It seems to say that any event that's not regularly scheduled in the harbor waterways has to go through the whole event. And that worries me with the cardboard boat. It also,
Well, I'm not sure if you guys are aware the new Archbishop of Boston is doing a tour of local harbors. Are you guys aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Starting January,
It's
excuse me,
it's just
June
two, it's just
21st.
two boats.
Just two boats, but they're starting in Gloucester, going to Manchester,
Yeah,
Beverly, Salem, ending in Winthrop on Saturday, and then on the Sunday they'll do
The rest of
ports
the way.
in
to
Boston. Yeah, in Boston, just a bunch of Boston ports. So is that, sounds like you know about it, that's good, but would that fall under this policy?
What is this like? Is this a giant parade or is this like two or
No,
three
no.
boats?
It's just two boats.
Couple of boats and inviting the parish to go,
the problem is, what is the definition
Right.
in
Yeah.
the policy?
Right.
And,
And-
um,
Right, so
Of course, it's
you either
public.
you try to more narrowly define it, or you leave it up to the discretion of.
And it's not the
Or it's
boats,
just
it's
that
the people on the
somebody-
land that want to come down. It's not the boats.
it's the harbor department that wants this to happen. They can come up with a definition.
yeah, I thought we were talking about on water events as
Well, I think
opposed to
it's-
water.
Well, when
Right.
you're talking on water, we're talking about them walking across.
Yeah,
But I think we're tying it
Different-
into our whole
Different guy.
regular event situation.
Which is fairly rigorous.
yes, it is.
And
Yeah,
the,
I mean, it
Yeah.
seems to fit, but I do understand
the high school, sailing teams use the harbor, and it's irregular.
What does, the yacht club, when they have their races, they do anything?
No,
Well, they're out in the ocean.
well,
But they leave
they're
from
part of
here.
the harbor.
Yeah, they leave from the harbor.
I suspect the harbor goes to the
And I assume
Canada border.
they don't talk to any, they just say, hey, we're organized this time and the people
Yeah.
come down, get their boats going and.
so maybe that would follow under some kind of annual event.
Well,
Okay.
the problem is.
I
that
mean,
what
the
they-
policy could specifically exempt.
Yeah.
Races.
And, Brian, what happens with the cardboard boat race?
As far as what we.
Who do you contact with that? There's no formal thing,
Contact,
probably the police, because you got a boat up there,
And Chuck.
and
Yeah,
that's it.
That's
But-
it. And then fire department, no, because they have a boat, they had a boat in the water.
Okay, but they don't have a safety role per se. The police has
We
a,
have, Mike McEachran's out there on a safety
Mm-hmm.
boat, okay? And I think he does it because he enjoys it more than, but,
Yeah.
so we have that.
Someone's gonna dig you out of the water.
I go, you never seem to get beyond that float.
so it's really police,
I'm only gonna paddle this far.
that police and Bion, that's it. Okay.
And ambulance. EMS.
Yeah, but will they ever contacted for the cardboard boat race?
I'll make sure that, yeah.
Not yet.
Oh,
I'll talk
okay.
to,
So what it requires is a written safety plan 60 days in advance. submitted to all three public.
No,
I just think
it's a lot.
it's overkill for the kind of things that. And. I would like to send it back to the Harbor Advisory Committee.
Do you, if you're gonna send it back to them, though, I think there should be some.
Some
kind of-
guidance, some comment.
right, some kind of guidance. I mean,
what are we trying to accomplish?
because this keeps going back and forth and we're not connecting.
Here we are.
It's a
we-
ping
We're not
pong.
getting anywhere.
We started at one place and then we tightened it really, really tight. And now we're saying it's too tight. And now
So
we're
what
trying to.
problem are we trying to solve? I think the problem we're trying to solve is when an unexpected when a large number of boats. Where a harbor is over capacity, and it creates an unsafe situation. Is that what we're trying to solve?
Yeah,
Maybe-
obviously, this all
maybe-
stems from the parties at Sand Valley Cove.
Right.
That's what triggered all
All right,
this.
so here's a question. They got a Coast Guard permit, right, for that?
I don't think the birthday party
Party.
is about a coast.
Yeah,
guard.
they
No.
did.
I'm wondering if
They
that-
did.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that can be kind of a trigger.
The trigger?
If you got, if you're getting a Coast Guard, because you can put this together, but nobody's gonna know anything about it unless there's some sort of trigger that
Mhm.
drives them in this direction.
That's a good point. I mean,
Okay.
can
But the
we?
Coast Guard kind of just gives out power, they didn't,
Oh, well, that's okay with us.
yeah.
Because it's still our judgment.
Yeah, I mean, if they're giving it out without much scrutiny, but nonetheless.
Right.
That's a trigger that.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay, so any event that would require a coast guard permit,
Then we can
Let's see how that works.
invest in it.
Okay, that's a good trigger, yeah.
certainly 3 pages we just cleaned up.
Yeah, exactly.
Next,
Keep it simple.
So you send that back to them with that recommendation?
yeah.
And,
So where's that leave the Pope or the Archbishop?
On the side of the road.
I'm.
That's just, again, it's 2 bolts.
I know, from a water perspective, it's not an event, it's a non-event.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna impact the harbor.
No,
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
what this event, it's something that impacts the normal usage of the parks, and that's what these event permits are for, that event. You know, won't stop anybody from going to Masco or Reed Park and doing what they normally do.
okay.
moving along.
Mhm. Liaison updates. Yeah.
Yes, wayfinding signs, they're gonna be here this week. I'm not saying they're gonna be up this week, they would have been here last week or 2 weeks ago. The challenge is, I guess there is a wayfinding sign for the bathroom here, which is gonna be a fancy sign. It's gonna have the rotunda, et cetera, and say bathroom this way, et cetera. So they decided to wait for that, and so they did them all together. That was just one additional sign. I guess there's only a bathroom. That is the only sign that is gonna be the wayfinding sign, but is the one for the bathroom here.
Yeah.
There will be a similar type of
No.
fancy sign for the Dunkin' Donuts, et cetera.
That's just a year-to-year kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yes, so that will happen. I guess they should be up next week, certainly before our meeting, next time. Council on Aging. June is kind of an important month with regard to their money-raising group, which is a company called Kinetics, along with Susan Beckman. And they will be serving probably 150 folks here in town. They've got quite a list of folks that they will go through. 40 or 50 of them in person, and another 150 an online survey with all of the typical questions you would ask about a financing campaign. And that's going to be happening through June. And the individual interviews are going to be June 16th to 26th. And they'll pull all of that together and put together a final arrangement. They already have put together a brochure that tells the story, and it's probably 90% of the way there, but the survey will go the rest of the way. So that's underway, but this is the official money-raising initiative will start in September in a regular way. And Historic District Commission has its meeting on cargo on Thursday. Sure to be a rather well attended meeting here in this room. And today, this is their suggested building,
Yeah,
which
so-
is really set back about 10 feet or so from the street. But the parking is in back and in the house, in the structure from the back. The parking is not in front.
The first floors will be hybrid. It could go for. it could
That's not
go
what the
for-
drawings say right now. They're,
Could go, from the renderings I was just shown. They could be used
Could be an
as
office,
office.
for
space,
example.
it could be, yes,
You
maybe.
know, professional offices.
So it'll be retail.
Well, you know. My understanding is they don't want to limit anything that can go in there. They've listened. Okay.
And they're trying to keep they want to keep all the options.
But at some point, they have to do what's financially prudent for them to. But I think they've heard, I think the design is great.
The design is
It looks very good, and they really did their homework. They looked at all the houses and say, this is the design we've got, which is, gabled roof there, and
I think it looks like it's been there forever.
yeah.
Mhm.
But, so, anyway, that meeting is here on Thursday evening.
What time is it?
6.
It's gonna be in this room here?
6. Thursday night. 6 o'clock.
It's already there.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like a World War II bunker over there now.
6 p.m.
That's it for me.
So I think I mentioned previously that the Downtown Improvement Committee had partnered with, Jim Brown and the Chamber to develop a commercial realtor outreach package. So I think, I'm not sure if they've actually started to use it yet, but if you're interested, I can get you a copy and just so you know what's going on. I think it'd be just for the select board to see that. Bike and Ped, one of the projects they want to embark on, they're gonna contact Mark Resnick. Greg, because they want to meet with him and Concom to get guidance on an accessibility project for an accessible trail in the Powder House area off Pine Street. I would caution Mark I've already cautioned this team, be careful here. He needs to do a lot of homework, and I would strongly urge him to Google the town of Andover and what they are going through now, because what one person's definition of accessible is not the same as somebody else's. So Andover is putting a paved path around in a wooded trail. Happens to be near the town water supply, so that's one reason people aren't happy about it, but there are other people with disabilities who are saying the pavement makes it less accessible to them. This is a hornet's nest, okay? So I would they're gonna go to Mark and get guidance, but I would really urge him to do his homework on this because it is a disaster in that other town right now.
I'm aware of the Andover thing. So this is a trail that would come in from Pine Street.
Yeah, and you wanted to talk about the parking, right? That
It's
all
kinda
plays
tied into a little bit.
Might be tied into it, so again, one person's definition of accessible is not the same.
Is this really taking one of the trails? Because there are several trails from Pine Street, but
Yeah.
they are purely trails.
They are trails, yes.
You know, even a bicycle doesn't make sense on any of these.
No, there's a lot of hilly stuff, so
Yeah.
they were thinking about the one closer, I think, to Newport Park, which is fairly flat, you know, I walked that.
Yeah.
It's short,
Okay,
but like I said, what I learned is one person's definition of accessible is not the same, and he needs to be very careful.
Should they be talking with the ADA?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, I'll mention that to them again. But sounds easy, accessibility is good, but when the definitions are different, it's not so good. So anyway, that's that.
Parks and Rec, according to Ms. Marshall. Beach opening was a nice, soft opening. I think have they even opened yet? I don't know. I wasn't around last
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
I wasn't around last weekend, but, right. Nominations for the Grand Marshal are due by Friday, for the parade. And then, something that came up, Greg, while you were gone, is, in top discussions with, Cheryl and Chuck. We're talking about, looking at putting Starlink at the Bat House.
It's a great idea,
Okay,
very easy, yeah,
and Chuck says it's really, really easy
it's very easy,
and it'll.
cost efficient.
What we found, what started this whole thing was a morning coffee that we had with the chiefs last month when, Jake said that the, fire apparatus lose Wi-Fi at Safety
Basically
Club.
top of the hill.
All right, so that became a public safety issue. Contacted Verizon and then Chuck said Starlink.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna initially do, I think, is just look for town staff in the canteen. And then if, so it'd be it won't be open to the public at this point. I think that'll be the first step is to make sure we can service the town staff.
And you maybe use it for more automated payment systems, I mean, it opens up a lot of
Yeah,
the
so
technology we have.
since I know
to give them.
that Captain Dusty's who runs the canteen, and it's frustrating for them, at some point they'll start to buffer. They have to unplug the Wi-Fi and go to a hotspot. Okay, while they're trying to process on a busy hot summer day. So my understanding is that, and I don't want to speak for Chuck, you know, he's still there. But I'm talking with something that might happen this week.
Great.
And I think that.
no, that'd be great.
Just as a thought, though, you know, you might not ever want to open it up to the public, because when I was working, I would go to Singing Beach on a Saturday and say, sorry, guys, I couldn't get my email. I'm going to the beach, you know, I'm not reachable.
They don't have to know, they don't have to know that.
You know, I would tell people I'm going to the beach and there is no service there, so you
I know.
won't find me.
One time,
This- I'm just saying.
years, about 15 years ago, I was unemployed. And I'm on the beach. And I got a phone call from unemployment. Right. And it was spotty.
They heard seagulls in the
Spotty,
background.
spotty is bad. All I could hear was the crashing and said, oh, it sounds like you're in a lot of traffic. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. But I think that it's a big first step, and then we can decide, I mean, first, how it works, and then if we want to expand it.
While we're on recreation, and we've got to get ready for July 4th.
You want me to go buy the candy again? No.
Yeah.
I forgot,
Flags.
20 pounds, what was it? I forget how many.
I don't know, but we need a lot more flags.
Yep.
We actually got the Pine Street this past year. The year before we didn't.
Okay,
So I think you gotta get over 2,500 flags.
okay,
I think we had 1,500 the last time.
Was it 15?
yeah. I think we could-
I don't remember what I bought last year, if you can tell me what I bought.
I don't know how the candy did,
It was, I wasn't
but it's
here.
very embarrassing downtown
remember
because
the
there are a ton of people there
Yeah.
and we got nothing.
Oh, no candy,
Okay.
okay.
We got nothing.
I don't think I ever remember
I got
putting on
like
any
20
candy at all.
pounds.
There's always been flags.
Oh, we're dealing
Oh,
with
no,
flags and
but
my,
Now that your granddaughter is older, the cut candy is being handed out a little more even.
I think she's understanding what's going on. Although my son is now lobbying for my grandson, who's 2 years younger, but I think we'll stay with my granddaughter.
She's
She's
starting-
now kindergarten, so.
Yes.
So I'll bring our
Why don't you
grandchildren.
get 30 pounds of
30
candy,
pounds of candy?
and I will get 25.
But I'm not saying that those among us are disciplined enough to understand, let's do 500 flags for this block and then 500 for that flag.
No, you gotta keep going like.
We
this.
just
You
keep
gotta
going.
Do that back.
Okay,
No, none for you.
great.
It's not, I don't care if it's not an election year, that's all I care.
So while you're talking about July 4th, so the red, white, and blue is the Saturday before.
Yes.
Well, that's in June.
Then it's always the weekend.
28th, I think it is.
It's always the Saturday before the fourth.
Right.
It does feel a
It's
little
early.
earlier this year.
Yeah. That is early. Would they have it on July 4th? If July 4th were Saturday, would they have it on the
I
Saturday?
don't think
So
so.
June
No, no.
28th?
That's too
They'll have
hard.
the-
28th, yeah.
They'll have the week before, because there's too much
Yeah.
stuff going on.
So,
I mean, that's have to do us,
yeah,
has to, at least once. every
yeah,
7
you can't
years.
conflict with all the other stuff. Okay,
Okay, Jeff, did you, going back to liaison?
Yeah, I just have a quick Essex Tech update that the state has decided to go to a lottery admission system
did.
that they've been talking about for a while. They're saying it's gonna be some sort of a weighted lottery, which I'm not really sure what the parameters of that are going to be. It's still in the works, I guess. But what I was told by an administrator friend of mine at another tech school is that we can advocate DESI for a certain amount of seats. So I'm not sure if that's something I have to do as a representative, or I'm gonna end up doing through the school, but I'm gonna be up there next week, so hopefully I'll have some more information, but I just wanted to let you guys know that was it.
And it's my understanding that they're appealing it though, the tax.
They've, yeah, I don't, it's, yeah, but it's not gonna happen, yeah.
what's the, what's the acceptance rate? In other words, how many kids want to go versus how many get in? What's the percentage? Is that,
About 1,500 for 500 seats.
all right, so it's 1 in 3. It'll still be 1 in 3, but you're not
Right.
controlling.
Not, the idea is to make more access, but
I understand.
if there's one seat here and me and him fight over it, there's still one person in that seat. You know, it's not making more access. It's-
No.
It's gonna cause a lot more issues, but
I'm a turtle.
Okay,
we'll see how the weighted side of it goes, and if we can get some seats allocated to us that are permanent, stuff like that.
How many kids we got there now, like 10 or something?
Yeah, we're like at
Just graduated, how many?
12.
Got about 12 kids there? Yeah, we did graduate a lot this year, didn't we? Or,
Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
we
we
did too.
did. Well,
I know the number's going
Yeah.
down.
But it could go back up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if we can
So is
get,
the lottery over? the
it'll be
whole-
over the, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
over, yeah, so it'll be over the whole base.
So,
Inside of that, they're calling it a weighted lottery, so there's like, what I've been told is there's like a point system.
Mhm.
But I'm not really I'm not gonna say anything, because I'm not 100% sure how that's playing out right now.
so you're not saying that we could wind up with no seats?
Well,
And a lot.
this has been my concern, and this is
So
what
waiting
I've
is
been
Gonna do something.
talking about the whole time up there, and they're assuring, well, they're telling me that if that happens, then we can go back to DESI for a certain amount of seats, but I haven't seen anything on paper that says that, so
All right. I'm curious.
it's work in progress.
Yep.
I guess, but
Hmm.
You talked to Lisa Martinez?
yeah, I talked to her that day.
Right. Hmm. I don't have anything, the school committee met after, our election on Tuesday. And I was in bed with the cold. I don't think they did anything interesting.
Do they plan to work on the budget during the summer? As
They
opposed to
are,
taking the
they are
summer off?
planning, there's a thing called the Number Crunchers, which is a public meeting of, the school superintendent, finance and, facilities, and the chair of the school committee, the two town administrators, and two people from either the finance or the select board.
Do we know when they?
That Pam just sent out
Okay.
can we meet in June?
And if the meeting is held in June, could we ask for a extra slot so both our incoming and outgoing town administrator could, I mean, it might be beneficial for,
Greg wants it to happen in July.
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? I think it's-
Okay. It's a public meeting, so.
Okay, so they can just.
Anybody can
Anybody.
come, and I'm sure that we would listen to town administrators, present and future. The consent agenda,
I move that the select board approve the consent agenda items. Oh, sorry, John,
That was me, but
sorry.
you did it very well.
Thank you. Do you want to second it?
I said.
okay, discussion. John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
And Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. So we're on with the beach bumps. Right.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory, for most of these. I'll have a little more information on Central Street culvert, hopefully later this week, that I'll share with you. Transitioning, Tony will be here, as I say, 2 full days a week.
Can I go back to the culvert just for a minute?
Yeah.
Christine Delicio is saying on Facebook that there have been no public hearings about this, no public forums, and public input is required. I haven't responded. I assume that we have followed all of the regulations for a Chapter 91 permit.
Correct. Yes. So DEP manages those hearings.
DEP manages those.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so yes, those, the public comment period was announced and made available.
It's being introduced online as if it was a brand new idea that's just being sprung on the tap.
I think there was like a 4-year-old video associated with that
4-year-old
same
video,
posting, so
yes,
that was a bit of a
yeah,
conundrum
right.
there, I don't know.
Right.
The contradictory items.
with Jeff Turner.
Yes, as the chair of the board at the time. So.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
We-
the irony is, if that thing is delayed and we don't, if it's held up, the person who's gonna suffer the most is the person that's causing the delay. When that thing fails, it's not gonna be pretty.
No, it's gonna be,
It's gonna
what was
be
it on Facebook?
long,
It's gonna be like Kernwood Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
What
it.
bridge? What bridge?
Right.
Like which bridge?
The Kernwood Bridge.
Oh,
That's close.
That's how long that been closed? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
well, I think it's about 3 years now and there's no future and they're closing the other bridge. Because
So you're gonna give us an update this week? Will we have to meet?
there may be a need for a special meeting. I'll keep you posted.
Okay,
Just depends how things move along.
So in a situation like that, there needs to be a meeting on short notice when we think about a policy that all meetings have to be in person. We might want to allow for, emergency meetings to be held virtually, because if there's a short-term need, we don't know where we're gonna be. That just made me think of it, like that scenario right there.
all right, there's another little wording in that, all regularly scheduled.
Yeah, regularly scheduled, yeah.
Put that in there.
You're gonna write this.
Regularly scheduled, yeah.
I've already asked Chuck to, look at the WEMS, policy form.
Yeah, okay, have a
He
template.
just sent me the header on their,
Mhm.
on their
Yeah,
notice.
they got boilerplate language. I think we put in there.
Yeah,
So anyway, back to transition. If you have, particular items you want to make sure are wrapped up as much as possible, let me know what you think those are. I have my list, but I'm happy to share it with you. That's,
Well, I think we just talked about one that
so, but let me know.
Mhm.
A couple of staffing issues, again, pretty self-explanatory there. Pretty sure that we will be having that vacancy in the police department. Expect that post will uphold the original decision.
Mhm.
And yeah, the condo docs on the Mason building, as they're coming along. No, I don't see any major red flags there, pretty much. The issues are hammered out with the TNS, and so the condo docs will mirror.
But you're saying registry of deeds is a,
That could be a snafu in our timing. I ran into this personally
yeah,
with a new condo.
Mm.
It's the group that, the new buyers, we contacted our state rep to try to move things along a little bit. So sometimes there's a bottleneck there. So hopefully not, but it may push that out a little bit. And then you mentioned the visioning session on Monday, the 9th. Planning board will be hosting that at the school, at
Yeah.
the cafeteria at 6:30 on the 9th. And they've hired a consultant to help with that. Katie McCabe will be there to facilitate. There'll be a general presentation and then breaking out into sort of roundtable discussions. What makes the village downtown core special? What do we need to protect? What are your concerns about it? And share that with the group. Is that so? The goal is to identify some sort of short-term plans that could be implemented to help bolster the business community and also possibly including some zoning changes. As I think, John, you mentioned the general district incorporates a wide area. It probably makes sense to, at a minimum, have two subzones within the general district. So the downtown core and then the further out residential zone. So that'll be the topic for Monday. And if you're able to attend, that would be helpful.
It's interesting, it's just on that same note. I was in Callis 2 weeks ago, after the election. And I asked Scotty, bartender who's been there forever, what his feelings would be for outdoor dining. He said, he's not in favor of it.
Yeah.
Only because it would overtax his small kitchen.
Mhm.
He said, it's not gonna do us any good. Matter of fact, it's gonna cause a problem for him. Right now, Callis seems to be the only one who flourish with the outdoor dining, although I like the look of the vibrancy of having.
Well, Dirty
outdoor
by
dining.
Beach has a little bit,
Yeah, they get that.
tiny little bit.
Big time, yeah.
But it's a bad spot though.
And
Tight.
the Mooring used to have their outdoor dining, which was really nice, except
Well,
when
so
someone hit the.
Seven Central on the back, end
But
of
the
it.
Mooring, I remember one time.
Mooring, which is now
Which was
Jamie's roast beef, which is now closed.
The Mooring
Yeah.
was, but I happened to be walking outdoors when I heard a car slam into the Jersey barriers out front. But anyway, so so I talked about it and yeah, local business is not in favor of that.
Well, Bravo has it, you know.
Yeah, you know,
No, but it's structured for that.
she fell into it.
Mhm. The Cafe Nero may have a little.
I would say on the side with that,
Yeah,
that.
Yes, they got a little patio there on the side.
I'm sure that was always public.
And the windows going in there. Classy windows.
You've seen them, I have not.
No, I have not seen them,
I know they're supposed to.
but I know that they'll be classy windows.
I wasn't there for the ZBA meeting Wednesday night, but I know they were going for change of use over at One School Street,
Oh,
the first floor
to
retail.
the first floor retail, he wants to, yes,
I assume they're that, I didn't hear, so I assume that.
okay.
And tomorrow night you have the chamber.
Yes, I'm gonna
event
drop in
at
and tennis
Palace.
clothes, but that's just the way it is.
What time is that tomorrow?
It starts at
Five.
5.
5 to
The award-
7.
Starts at 5:45.
This is for Alan over at,
Yeah,
At 5, 5 o'clock,
It
5:40,
starts at 5.
starts at 5.
5 to
And then
The ceremony starts
5:45.
5:45.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, boy, that's close.
I can do that.
Because,
I'm gonna be
the school committee's meeting at 6,
Yeah, I have another
Um,
meeting at
so-
6, so I can't go.
but
Alan's good people.
maybe you can nudge them to be.
We can
Be
talk
first.
to, we can talk to the chairman and have you go.
Go first,
Go, and just.
because I saw the agenda,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that was last,
I think they had just the opposite, yeah.
so
If,
go first, yeah.
it would be nice.
So who's going, I will go, you will go,
I will be there, I will have to.
you guys,
I will try to make it there.
Gonna try to, but I have something.
I have a
late.
con-
I don't know what I've got
So-
going on anymore.
okay.
I just show up.
You're aware of that?
Yes,
That's like happened today.
no,
Last night,
it happened last week.
oh, okay,
There's a resignation.
on the
on
housing authority,
Housing Authority. We'll have to set up a joint meeting
Mhm.
with them to make an appointment because it's an elected position.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
So the person who was elected has concluded that he's not gonna be able to fulfill that obligation. So I'm waiting to hear back from the housing authorities and they can meet with you. About the next session.
you get an official letter from him yet, or? from-
Yes, we
You
did.
did, okay.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Thank you very much.
right, good.
And thank you for reelecting me.